What if the person you trusted most betrayed you in a way that shattered your life, only to face a truth that turned their victory to ashes? This is the story of Emily Harper, a woman who lost everything but found the courage to reclaim her dignity in a courtroom that would never forget her voice. Emily stood at the edge of her life's wreckage, staring at the divorce papers in her trembling hands. She had loved Mark for 10 years, built a home with him, dreamed of a future with children and quiet evenings. But Laura, her best friend since college, had crept into their marriage like a shadow. With sly whispers and calculated lies, Laura convinced Mark that Emily was unfaithful, unstable, unworthy. Emily's protests were drowned out by Laura's charm, her fabricated evidence, her crocodile tears. Mark believed Laura, and Emily's world collapsed. The divorce was finalized in a blur of heartbreak, leaving Emily with nothing but a rented apartment and a broken spirit. Laura thought she had won. She moved into Mark's life, his home, his bed, wearing a smug smile that Emily could still see in her nightmares. But Emily wasn't done. She couldn't let Laura's betrayal be the end of her story. For months, she pieced together evidence, text messages, emails, even a recorded conversation where Laura bragged about her scheme to a mutual friend. Emily's pain turned to resolve. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for every woman who'd been silenced by deceit. The courtroom was a cold, sterile place, its wooden benches filled with strangers who would decide her fate. Emily's lawyer, a sharp woman named Clara, had warned her this would be a battle. Laura had hired a high-powered attorney, banking on Mark's money to bury Emily's claims. The case wasn't just about the divorce anymore. Emily had filed a lawsuit against Laura for intentional infliction of emotional distress, a rare and risky move. The judge, a stern man with gray hair, peered over his glasses as the proceedings began. Laura took the stand first, her voice dripping with false sincerity. She painted Emily as jealous, unstable, a woman who couldn't handle losing Mark. The lies were polished, rehearsed, and the courtroom seemed to lean in her favor. Emily's heart pounded, but she clutched the folder of evidence in her lap, her knuckles white. Clara leaned over and whispered, "Your turn is coming. Stay strong." When Emily took the stand, the room felt smaller, the air heavier. She looked directly at Laura, whose smug expression faltered for a moment. Emily's voice, though soft at first, grew steady as she recounted the betrayal. She described the years of friendship, the trust she'd placed in Laura, the slow unraveling of her marriage. Then, Clara presented the evidence. The recorded conversation played, Laura's voice clear and cruel. "I knew exactly what to say to make Mark hate her. It was almost too easy." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge's face hardened. Laura's lawyer scrambled, but the damage was done. Emily's testimony wasn't just about the facts. She spoke of the sleepless nights, the shame of being labeled a failure, the agony of losing her home and her love. She spoke of rebuilding herself, of finding strength in the ruins. "I'm not here for revenge," she said, her voice breaking but resolute. "I'm here because no one should have to lose everything to someone else's lies." The courtroom was silent when she finished. Even Laura's lawyer seemed at a loss. The judge adjourned for deliberation, but Emily felt a weight lift. She had spoken her truth, and it was enough, no matter the outcome. Days later, the verdict came. The court ruled in Emily's favor, awarding her damages for emotional distress and publicly acknowledging Laura's deceit. Mark, who had sat silently through the trial, approached Emily outside the courthouse. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice hollow. But Emily only shook her head. "This isn't about you anymore," she replied. She walked away, her steps lighter than they'd been in years. Laura's victory had been an illusion, shattered by the truth. Emily didn't just win in court. She reclaimed her voice, her worth, her life. She moved to a new city, started a small business, and began to heal. The scars remained, but they were proof of her survival. And in the quiet moments, when she thought of Laura, she no longer felt anger. She felt pity for a woman who thought she could win by tearing others down. Emily's story spread, inspiring others to speak out against betrayal. She became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that truth has a way of rising, no matter how deeply it's buried. And in the end, the courtroom didn't just hear what came next, it heard a woman who refused to be silenced.